Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Table Talk with Parents. My name is Alicia Newell, and I have the privilege of serving as the Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs here at Wichita State. This evening's topic is understanding FERPA and textbook and everything that our Shocker store has to offer. And so to get us started, I'm going to introduce our guest this evening, Miss Gina Crabtree, who serves as the University Registrar. Gina, feel free to share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you tonight. As Alicia said, I serve as the University Registrar and Director of Enrollment Services. I've been at Wichita State for over 25 years now, working in the admissions and registration and records area. So really love being able to help and to provide information that will help parents as you're starting off on this journey with your students.
And next we have Miss Andy Stipp, who serves as the director of our Shocker store. And Andy is phenomenal, as is Gina. So Andy.
Hey everyone, welcome tonight. I'm excited to be able to share with you a little bit more about what the Shocker store has to offer, from course materials to educational supplies to fun snacks, regalia, and of course, the one thing that all parents want to know about, textbooks. So I'll share with you about the different offerings that we have, the different types of textbooks, and different ways that you can go about finding them, and even show you how you can go ahead and look and explore the options that you'll need for your classes.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to get started with our fun topic that parents love and love to hate, which is FERPA. And I'm talking just about what FERPA is and how do parents go about gaining access to their student records, or even, what that looks like. So to kick us off, Ms. Crabtree, take it away.
All right, well, let's get started. You may or may not be familiar with the acronym FERPA. It stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and that's essentially the law that governs access and control over student records. So many of us have kids, and when our kids were young, when we were in elementary and high school, the rights to their academic record belong to us as parents. But any student who reaches the age of 18 and or enters an institution of higher education becomes the custodian of their own record. They are the ones that control the rights to their records. So this is important because parents often want to know, how do I find out what my students' grades are, or how can I access their record at the college or university they're attending? And ultimately, it's important for us as parents to recognize that the rights have shifted to our students, and that ultimately, under the law, when a student is in college, we are considered third parties to the access of student records. And the law tells us as a university that we can't provide information about a student's record to a third party without that student's expressed written consent. So that's really helpful for you as parents, and for us as an institution, that parents understand that rule. It's also helpful to understand what students' rights are under FERPA, and they are kind of three basic rights. The students have the right to review and inspect their records, which they do mainly through our online services like the MyWSU portal. They have the right to seek an amendment to their record if there's something that we have that's incorrect. So if somebody says my record at WSU shows that I attended Butler Community College and I never did that, then we would work with the student to amend the record to correct that error. And then students have a right, within certain limitations, to control, again, who has access to their record. And that happens, again, by the institution really holding to the principle that we can't provide information to a third party without the student's consent. And there are exceptions to that rule. One exception is called directory information. We have the right under FERPA to provide information from a list of certain items that are considered directory information, we have the right to provide that information to a third party. So that would be basic information like a student's name and their major, and if they're enrolled or not in a given semester. So anything that is more personal, that is more private in terms of their schedule, their social security number, if we happen to have that, their financial aid information, their grades, those are all considered non-directory information, and we cannot provide that information to the third party. So again, law says we can't provide information to a third party without the student's consent unless it's directory information. And students do also have the right to block even directory information if they want to have us not tell anyone anything about them. And students do that with my office by filling out a form. Now, we don't have a lot of these. We call them FERPA blocks, but we do have some. And it's important for students to understand what that means. If a prospective employer, for instance, contacted our office as a student was approaching graduation, they had applied for jobs, and they have a FERPA block on their record, then we have to say, I have no information on that person. So we work with students as if they request to have that FERPA block of directory information to make sure that they understand. Really helpful websites that parents could check out, and for students as well, is our wichita.edu/FERPA. And so I'm going to see if I can share my screen quickly. Let's see. All right. And share. So I'm hoping that you can see the website that I'm showing here. Great, there it is. So I just wanted to give you a glance at wichita.edu/FERPA. It provides information again about our policy and our adherence to the FERPA law. It provides information about a student's record and what information that we can disclose, those exceptions to that express written consent. Directory information is one of them. Another exception is school officials like myself who have a legitimate educational interest. And there are some other exceptions here that students and parents might be interested in seeing that would be exception to that needing express written consent to provide information. It also will detail what is considered directory information at Wichita State University. And then this is this link here to the form where, again, a student can prevent directory disclosures. So I encourage parents to check that out. We have information in Spanish on the website as well. It's helpful, again, if parents are aware and have conversations now with their students to know, hey, how are you going to provide information to me about your record? And so one other thing that I want to share with you is how a student can provide you access to parts of their record, which parts they choose, and how you can access that through an electronic means yourself. And it's called the proxy system. So at wichita.edu/proxy, I'm going to share my screen again. You will find a website that has various links. One is for the student, telling them how to set up a proxy, and then the other is for the proxy, which would be you as a parent. And really what this is a student logs into their MyWSU, and they're presented with, they go to proxy management, and they're presented with a list of things that a proxy could see, and they use the check boxes to say, yep, I want my parent to be able to see my schedule and my financial aid. Maybe I don't want them to be able to see my grades. So whatever the student checks, when the proxy then sets up their account and logs into the system, then the proxy will be able to select from a list of things that the student has allowed them to see. So again, there are various numbers of items that the student can authorize. They do include some information on financial aid, on their, again, their schedule, their academic record. They do not include information about paying the bill. The finance part is done through the student finance suite, and a student can set you up as a guest user there, but it's not part of the proxy options. So again, at that wichita.edu/proxy website, parents and students both can view what the various options are and get information on how they can set that up. So we really find that's helpful to parents and students, so that students, although they don't have to print off their grades at the end of the semester. What they can do is set up mom or dad or both separately, because each proxy has to have a unique email address, but they can set up their parents as a proxy, and their parents can then log in and view the things that they've given them permission to view. I always like to tell parents it's really not appropriate for parents to contact a faculty member asking how the student is doing in their class. The faculty member should say to you, I'm not able to share information about a student's progress with anyone but the student. Now, you might say, hey, my student has set me up as a proxy and checked all the boxes. But even if that's true, the faculty member's conversation is not part of your student's academic record. And FERPA is very, very specific in that it tells us what we may do, but there are a few things that it requires us as an institution to do. So even if a student authorizes a disclosure, we are not required to do that. Most of the time we do honor students' disclosures, and students, the way they disclose their record is usually by sending an official transcript to some entity. But the faculty member does not have the requirement to talk to parents, and most would not want to do that. They want to talk with the student. They want to address students' questions. They want to help them if they're struggling in class or need referral to a certain service. So really encourage your students to talk with the faculty members rather than a parent making a call to them. Let's see, Alicia, am I supposed to look at questions in the comments?
Yeah, we have a couple questions.
Okay.
And so one of them is, do you have separate proxies for parents? And I think you answered that question.
Yeah, so they can set up mom and dad as a separate email address, separate proxies. If mom and dad both have the email address and the password, then either one of them can log in. You don't have to set up parents separately, but certainly if there is a need or interest in doing that, they just have to have 2 different email addresses.
And then another question was, how soon should they complete the FERPA proxy form?
As soon as a student is enrolled and coming to orientation, again, some of you may have been at an orientation program, or you might later this summer, where you'll hear me share some of the same information, and students are provided information about setting up a proxy. So once a student is enrolled, they are eligible to set up a proxy, so can do that anytime as we approach this fall semester. I also see a question about we can only see their grades at the end of the semester, and that is correct. This is access to a student's overall end of semester grades. It is not access to the Blackboard learning management system where a faculty member might assign individual assignment grades. This is only overall. There is one other piece of proxy that I would also mention, and that is that one of the check boxes that a student can select says, I give WSU permission to talk to my proxy about whether it's their academic record or their finances or their financial aid. Those boxes are there. And so we're able to allow a student to set up a passphrase. It's separate from their password for their login. It will be separate from the proxy's login, but it is a passphrase. And if the proxy knows that passphrase, which you would get from your student, then we would be able to authenticate you as having permission to be someone we could talk to even on the phone, which normally that's more difficult to do because we don't know who's on the other end of the line. But if a parent calls and is a proxy and knows that passphrase, we're able to look it up, and then we can provide more helpful information and details over the phone. Ultimately, when we get questions from parents about hey, I need information about my student's record. Again, what we do in the registrar's office is try to determine what your goals are and encourage you to talk with your student, because most of the time there's not information that we and the registrar's office can provide you, again, unless you're set up with that proxy. One last piece I would say is that if your child is under the age of 21 and you are claiming them as a tax dependent on your income tax, doesn't matter whether you're paying the bills or not, then there is a form in our office that you can fill out, and also found on our website at wichita.edu/registrar. Click on the link for the forms, and there is a form there that you can fill out and submit with a the first page, a copy of the first page of your taxes showing that you do claim the student as a tax dependent. And then that would be another way that we could provide you with the student's most recent semester's grades. That does not require your student's permission.
And Gina, there's a question Steve asked about written information on the proxy setup indicates that it's semester-based only. And so is this something that has to be updated every semester? Or how long is that on file? How long is it good for?
Right. The proxy system is not semester by semester. A student sets up a proxy and a student can drive what deadline that proxy has if they expire. And then the system would expire a proxy if a student was inactive, meaning we inactivate students if when they graduate. So proxy doesn't need to be renewed each semester. If you are getting grades based on claiming the student as a tax dependent, that is something that has to be resubmitted each time.
Perfect. And one thing, Gina is a proud parent of a recent triple grad, actually. And so she's gone through kind of this whole process as well as a parent and really kind of navigating and figuring out kind of the do's and don'ts of how even she's able to gain access for her student's record and what that looks like. And so it's rather frustrating as parents because K-12, we are taught to get on our phones and check, Power School or whatever it is that your student uses and making sure, are they turning in assignments? How are they doing on tests and quizzes? What is attendance like? And so some of those things we're doing everything for that and really remembering that college is all about helping our students learn to navigate and advocate for themselves. And so FERPA really sets up that really strong barrier and boundaries of what that looks like and making sure that we're helping our students grow to become those responsible citizens that are able to do that moving forward. And so as frustrated as it is for some, at the end of their 4 to 5 years, you're going to be like, oh, thank you, because they've kind of shifted and moved into this own new, now responsible individual that we are trying to, ultimately grow them to become. And so it's a great service that I think the university provides. And if there's any questions at all, I know Gina's there. We're here. Throughout this semester, we will be sending information, just reminders about FERPA, proxy, all of that. But again, those of you who have joined us for orientation, wichita.edu/one-stop is a phenomenal resource because it'll give you screenshots and will take you directly to the web pages that you'll need to access to get to some of these forms. And so if you forget anything, go to wichita.edu/one-stop. A lot of folks think, oh, Alicia, you know a lot of things. This is my secret. I go to One Stop and I'm answering your questions based off of this phenomenal platform. And so use it at your leisure. It's phenomenal. So Gina, I think that's most of the questions we have. I'm going to go ahead and
let me mention one other thing, if I might, Alicia. Sorry. I just want to also, parents often like to know that a student can log into the MyWSU portal and click on a link for the National Student Clearinghouse to get an enrollment verification and a good student certificate that are often helpful with discounts in auto insurance or other, having for medical insurance if the parents are claiming them. So that kind of whole enrollment verification piece is very much a part of the registrar's office, as well as the FERPA and proxy and things we're talking about. So when I have parents and new students, I like to mention that as well. And also then, just to reiterate, the registrar's office is happy to help in any way we can. And don't hesitate to call. Even if we can't tell you some things, we'll tell you what we can tell you and help you, again, perhaps navigate the waters of getting things set up so that you get the information you need from or through your student's consent.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gina. All right. Next up, I'm going to bring Andy Stipp, who's going to share information with us about the Shopper Store Our Shocker store hosts anything between purchasing textbooks, Shocker apparel. A lot of my paycheck goes to the Shocker store because I am a Shockerholic. And so I'm going to turn it over to Andy to have her share with you some of the resources that they have within the Shocker store.
Thanks, Alicia. So as Alicia mentioned, my name's Andy Stipp, and I'm the director here at the Shocker Stores. For those of you who were not on the call previously when we introduced ourselves, I've been with the Shocker Store now for a little over 10 years, and I'm super excited about every year when we have a group of students coming in and watching them grow through their process of a student and as an individual. So for those of you who've been to campus and those of you who have not and will later this summer for an orientation, our facility here at Wichita State's campus, we actually have 2 Shocker stores that are fully operational. And the important distinction between the 2 locations is one is a fully functional, traditional college bookstore. And that one is housed in the Radigan Student Center, where you can get food and coffee and your student ID and even open a bank account with our credit union on campus. The other is on the opposite side of campus on what we call Innovation Campus, where we also have Fuzzy's Taco Shop, another Starbucks location on campus, and Social Tap. That location is called our Brayburn Square location, which is all retail. So we don't house books, school supplies, or any of those types of things. It's really more of a community Shocker shop where fans can come in and buy cool swag to wear to games, take back home to their family and friends. So the majority of what I'm going to talk about tonight is about our Radigan Student Center location because it's the most student-centric on our campus. It's kind of in the heart of campus around all of our academic buildings. So the Radigan Student Center Shocker store, it's a multi-level store location. On our first floor, we have food, snacks, medications, over-the-counter medications, the basic needs that any student who say it's the middle of the day and they've run out of shampoo and they don't have time to run to Walmart. We've got shampoo, conditioners, soaps, feminine products, and those types of things that they can buy. We also have school supplies on our lower textbook level. We have gifts and novelty items, everything that you could absolutely think of, we have in our store for most Shocker fans. On our textbook level, which is our lower level of the Radigan Student Center store, like I had mentioned, we have school supplies, and then we also have our web order pickup area. This is really important because if you live outside of the Wichita metro area and you're coming to campus or your child is coming to campus this fall, what you can do is go ahead and place your order for your books for the fall semester or the upcoming semester, select to pick them up in store, or there's a specific time frame where you can select to have them delivered to your student's dorm, and we will have them in their rooms for when they move in. This is quick and convenient. You get all the books. It's quick and as soon as you want. If you want used book opportunities, the best time to do that is right when we open up the availability to purchase books. For summertime, that's going to be July the 15th. For the spring term, those dates are going to be in December. So you can go ahead, place your order for those books, have them ready to pick up when you arrive to campus, or even have them put in your dorm room by selecting dorm delivery during those opportunities. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about the Shocker stores here on campus is every dollar that we earn go back to our campus. So a lot of the revenues that are generated here in the Shocker store go back to maintain the operations of our fabulous Radigan Student Center, which, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of like the living room for campus. It's a huge building. We have lots of things. We do lots of events and activities for the students in this actual building. And so those revenues are used for those operational funds for that. So now I'm going to get into the fun stuff related to textbooks. So when I was a college student, I'm going to age myself a little bit. We had 2 options for textbooks. You had new print books and you had used print books. And the one thing that everybody wanted was the yellow sticker, which meant used, which meant you saved money. Nowadays, when looking for course materials and textbooks for classes, it's a completely different ballgame. We have new books, used books, new rental books, used rental books, digital books, we have packets, we have Arduinos, which are used in the engineering classes to do coding and those basic types of things. And then we also have what's called inclusive access, or our program here at Wichita State is called Access Now. And so there's a full gamut of opportunities for you to choose or for your student to choose based upon your economic needs and also your student's preference. So I'm going to kind of go into how the textbook process works and how we get information to know what books that your students need for classes. So every semester, faculty have to submit to us what are called a book adoption. And what that does is it lets us know for their class what book they plan to use that's required for your student to have. Once they submit that to us, we go through and we vet based upon their preference or the options that we have available to bring them into our store to be able to sell to your students. We work with 4 different national wholesalers to bring in used books. We also work with 3 different national wholesalers to be able to offer students rental books. The difference between buying a book and renting a book, I like to compare it to Redbox. When you, if they're still around these days, you go to a Redbox and you say, I want to rent this DVD versus buying the DVD so I can enjoy the movie. So you walk up, you pay a small fee to use that, watch that movie for a duration of time. And then at the specific deadline that they give you, you return the book or the movie back to the Redbox. It's very similar in the same case with rental textbooks. You pay to use the book for a duration of time. At the end of that time frame, you return the book back to us, and we in turn return it back to the wholesaler in which we borrowed it from for the time being. So we call those secured rentals. Rentals are allowed for the duration of the term. And so if your student's taking a short-term course, such as a pre-session or a 4-week course, they actually have the opportunity to hold on to that book until the end of the semester. For the students that rent books, a credit card is required and a Shocker ID to do so. The reason why we do that is we track which books students rent, and we spam their inbox with rental reminders every semester at the halfway point of the term. And then we send them emails regularly, including daily, during the 2 weeks prior to the end of the term to ensure that the student knows to return those back to us. Now, for you parents who are like, oh my gosh, my kid is not responsible, I'm sure they'll come home with their books, and we'll need to get them back to the Shocker store, and we live 3+ hours away. Have no fear, have no worries, because here's the important part. If your student lives outside of a 5-mile radius of our campus, we offer free rental, return, shipping label options. All your students have to do is click on the email, print a form, fill it out, print the label, box up the books, and ship them back to us before the deadline, free of charge. We don't charge them a penny if they live outside of a 5-mile radius of our campus here at Wichita State. In the event that your child has an emergency or something comes up and they forget to bring their books back to us, or something's come up where they can't get them back to us in a timely manner, please contact us in advance so we ensure that we don't charge that credit card that we secure at the point of the rental. So the other thing that I talked about is our Access Now program. So we've had this program for about 5 years now. And this past semester, we opened it up, the opportunity for all instructors who want to participate in the program. Why is this program so important? What this does is it allows us the opportunity to get every student, regardless of where they fall in their financial aid process, a book. And how it works is when a student enrolls in a course that's been identified as an Access Now course through their instructor, we place what's called an attribute on that CRN for that class. And what it does is it places a course material charge on the student account. What that does is it secures the child the book for the full term. Students have until the 100% refund date, which depending upon the length of the course, it can be anywhere from 24 hours if it's a pre-session class to 5 days if it's a short-term class, like a 4-week class or an 8-week class, depending upon if it's summertime or a full fall or spring semester, or up to the first 10 days of class to do what's called opting out. If your child elects to opt out, what it does is it refunds the charge on the student account, but it disables them the opportunity to have access to the required materials needed for their class. We do this as part of an opportunity if the student was able to find the materials somewhere else. If they had a friend who took the class and had a code that they didn't use and the code was required for their current class, they could opt out, have that charge removed off of their account, and have the materials that they need to be successful. Why is Access Now so important? Well, Access Now saves students 20% off of the standard publisher list price, or what the publishers sell their digital product to students on their website. So us partnering with publication companies, us partnering with faculty, allows students to get the materials that they need on or before the first day of class, delivered to them through Blackboard, and it also delivers it to them at an affordable price. This semester alone, we were able to save students hundreds of thousands of dollars that they would have had to otherwise pay for the same exact course materials. If your student is enrolled in an Access Now class and they would prefer to have a print copy, a tangible book that they can look at, all they have to do is contact the Shocker store and we will happily order them a print upgrade. These are an additional expense because they are a supplemental item, but prices for those range anywhere from $15 to $45, and that's based on pagination of the book, so the number of pages that have to be printed. They are a loose leaf version of the textbook that's just printed and binder ready. So I see that there's lots of questions related to course books and how do we offer different affordable options to the students. So I think the easiest thing to do for you as parents is to kind of show you how you can go to our website, take your child's schedule, and go through and look at the different book prices. So I am going to share my screen here. And hopefully you can see the Shocker Store website on our homepage here. If you click shop, that's going to take you to the opportunity to buy all the fun swag that we talk about, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and those types of things. If you're looking specifically for course materials, you'll simply click on course materials. When you click on that, you'll scroll on down and you'll find my textbooks. When you click on this, it'll pull up the opportunity to search by CRN, which are 5 digits next to the department and course number listed on your student's schedule. You'll want to make sure that you have the proper term selected. So we are in summer term right now, but if your child is taking a fall class, you can select fall and you can type in their CRN, or you can go down here, select your term that you're looking for. I'm going to use summer to give you the most accurate book information. You can select their classes by the department and the course number listed. I'm just going to throw out a couple of courses here, just so you have an idea of how quick and easy this works. And let's do one other. After you've input all your students' course information, you click View Materials, and it's going to populate a list. You can print this book list here, and it'll print it out just like you see here on pages for you to have information to review. So as you can see, this first book here is for Professor Zeller's class. It's an Access Now course like I talked about. So these students are required to have McGraw-Hill Connect, which comes with homework and tests that their teacher placed into our learning management system called Blackboard, as well as an ebook option for the students. In this, they have what's called a smart book, which are learning mastery chapters, where it gives them, they can read through the book, and then there's videos and things that they can watch with deeper knowledge questions that they can go ahead and answer. Go ahead.
We're having an issue with the screen, Andy, and so it's not following. It wasn't following through. So if you go back to share your screen.
Yep, let me go back and screen again. Sorry, guys.
But everything, and we walked through this the same way that Andy did during new student orientation. And if you're not able to attend orientation with your student, this information will also be provided to you in our family newsletter that is being sent out both for June and July. We'll also have more information in our August newsletter. And so just know that when it's asking really for the CRN, the course reference number, that's what you're going to put in to see that list that Andy talked about on there. There it is. And so being able to see, is it an access now? I think one of the questions that a lot of students typically have when they come in is they're waiting for a book, right, Andy? And it's like, oh no, this is a access now course, or this is something that you just need a code for. And can you talk to them a little bit about some of like the difference between some of the codes and access now?
Absolutely. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. So we do offer digital offerings to our students. As we've increased the amount of Access Now classes, those codes have kind of gone away for a lot of our classes because, as I mentioned previously, what those physical code cards in the Access Now program are the same thing, but 20% less in a student cost. Not every material, however, is available in an Access Now program. And so for some of these classes, there is a physical code card that's still required. And so sometimes students are like, well, I'm going into Blackboard and I'm not seeing anything for Access Now. How do I get my materials? They're digital. And so we'll have a digital code card that the students have to physically pick up from our store. So when you go into our website and you select digital option, and it does not identify it as an Access Now material, that is going to be a physical code card that the student will have to come and pick up to be able to access their materials for their class. If your student, I see that there's questions in the chat. Stacy, you had a question about Amazon and Facebook Marketplace for books at a lower cost. Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to tell you where you should get books. We work hard to ensure that we have the right books for the right materials at the best price that we're able to acquire them for. Unfortunately, we're not able to go out to Amazon into what we call Marketplace, where individuals list books, to ensure that we get the right books, that people list them, that have the required materials. Nor are we able to buy in bulk for the amount of students that we need when individuals have a book for $20 here, $40 here. So we have to go through our processes of getting them through wholesale companies and other means to supply for students. But feel free, use our website. We're here as a tool for you and for your student to know and I have an idea of what books they need. And you may find by going and looking at Amazon that our prices are comparable to theirs. So use our website as a tool for getting the information that you need for the classes, to go out and vet other sites and those types of things. But I will warn you, buyer beware. If you're going to Amazon or Marketplace and those types of things to buy books, if this book material says with access, that means that there's a code required for the book. And oftentimes when people buy from Amazon or they buy from a marketplace, that code is not, it's a one-time use code. And so what you may find is you're buying a book and they say, yes, there's a code, but that code has been activated. So it's really important to ask the seller, has this code been activated prior to purchasing, to ensure that you're not buying a book from Amazon or Facebook Marketplace that may not be of use to your child, because they're going to end up having to buy that code to be able to do their homework and paying more money in the long run. I know that's a lot of information regarding books. So if you guys have questions, if you have concerns regarding textbooks, feel free to email shockerstore@wichita.edu or visit our website and kind of peruse through with your child's schedule. I will tell you, kind of like what Gina talked about, we do not have access to your child's records. We don't have the ability to pull up your student's schedule when they come to visit us to buy their books. They will either need to bring in a printed copy of their schedule or have the availability to look it up on a digital device that they have with them.
Yeah, I think the thing that I absolutely love is the don't waste time in line and buy online. Because if your student is living in the resident hall, why not save that time of waiting in line with them, then helping them get their room set up, helping them get adjusted, all of that great stuff, and knowing that their books are delivered in their room, on their bed, and that's just one less thing that they have to worry about. There are a couple questions, Andy, about what if the student purchases a book and they don't need it or they change their schedule? Can you talk about the return policy for your books?
Absolutely. So I do see a couple different things. So sometimes I'm going to hit both here, two birds with one stone. So sometimes we have cases where a student's enrolled in a class and say Professor Steve was supposed to teach that class, and something happens to Professor Steve and he is unable to teach for the semester. And we have something called academic freedom here at Wichita State, where every professor has the opportunity to select the materials that they want for their course. So your student was enrolled in Professor Steve's class, you bought your books from the Shocker store, only to find out 2 days into the semester that Professor Steve isn't teaching the class and Professor George is going to teach the class. And guess what? Professor George doesn't like Professor Steve's books, and so he wants to change the books for the semester. Well, luckily for your student, we do have a promise guarantee that if your student buys their materials from us and there's a change in the material or something isn't right, we will return that back from your student and get the right book in their hands and refund their money 100%. We do have that happen from time to time, just like with any other thing in a job or something that may happen, and we do ensure that your child is taken care of. In regards to our returns policy, it is posted out on our website as well, should you have questions or concerns about it after tonight's call. But your student has up until the 100% refund date, which for a full semester course is the first 10 days of class, to return the materials back to us with proof of purchase, so their receipt, in the same condition as sold, no questions asked. That's a very lenient returns policy, but what we find is, many people realize after they buy their books, they're just going to continue to use them. If they find within that first 10 days that the book isn't needed, feel free, bring it back, but let us know. We're advocates for the students, and we're advocates for you guys as parents paying for books, just as much as we're the people buying the books to put on the shelf only to pay to have them returned. One thing that our staff hates is when we find out that a professor ordered 15 books for an English class and they really only used 2 of them. We need to know that, because we go back to them and say, we noticed that we ordered 15 books for your class. The students only used 2. Are these really required? Because otherwise we'll flip those other books, the other 13, to recommended or optional materials for the students. So they're not spending the money to buy them if they don't need them.
Perfect. So there's a question from Donna about when do we know that schedules are finalized? Right now on her students' WSU account, it looks like the schedule is tentative. When do book orders for fall begin? And so Donna, what your student will need to do is to log into their email, and essentially they will need to accept their schedule. Once they accept their schedule, their schedule's finalized. Should they choose to come, when they come to orientation, if they want to meet with an advisor and say they don't like their 8 a.m. classes, or they don't want to take, math and physics at the same time, whatnot, they can change their schedule at a later time. But once that schedule is accepted via the link in their MyWSU, and an email is sent to them about that, that is confirmation that that is their schedule. And so if they have any questions, you can contact the one-stop office. They can contact their advisor and get help with that. But as soon as they accept their schedule, that's it. Another question that came up was book buyback. And I think there was a thing you said, summer starts July 15th. Did you mean fall starts July 15th for You're muted, Andy.
It's the number one phrase since 2020. Yes, summer books are being sold right now. We will begin selling fall books July the 15th. And we will sell those through until 2 weeks into the second 8 weeks, so mid-October. I'm not saying that we won't have all books in stock, but after that point in time, we start returning books that are not needed for the next term back to the publishers, so we can kind of recuperate some things there. There I see a chat about book buyback. We do offer a book buyback that's done at the end of the terms. And so for us, that's going to be in the fall and in the spring, because that's when we have the majority of students taking classes on campus. What we find is our buyback isn't as robust as it used to be back in the day. Like when I was in college, like the line wrapped around the building and it was like a cash cow. Everybody was walking out waving themselves with cash. What we find is more and more students opt to rent books instead of purchasing because it saves them money. And so instead of getting money back, you actually receive that savings up front. So at the end, kind of like I talked about with the Red Box DVD, at the end of the semester, you just return the rental book back. You do not receive any money back because that savings was passed along to you at the beginning. If you did purchase your books and you're wanting to know if there's a retail value or a wholesale value for those books, we do offer that. And kind of how that works is if we have an adoption for that book for the next semester from a professor, we will buy it back at 50% of what you paid for it. If that book we haven't received that adoption that we talked about from the professor, what we do next in line is we look to see if there's a wholesale national value. So all college campuses across the United States, is there a value for this book? And that's sent to us through wholesale companies that we vet. And the one with the highest value is what we pay out to you. Please know that, wholesale is drastically different than retail values. And so we don't set those, the wholesale companies set those for us. But yes, we do offer that opportunity for your student.
And then another question about technology. And so this is something that I've been with the university for 17 years, and I had no idea as a student that I could purchase my laptop and everything I needed with, my program through the Shocker store. And so, the question that Becky asked was, are there any kind of discounts in the Shocker store for laptops, technology, things of that nature, Andy?
Are what's considered a Dell University and HP University partners. So we do receive a slight discount from companies that produce electronic devices. Because so many people have different variances in what they want for a specific device, we only carry like a good, better, best, a good model for students. Basically, it's a basic laptop that we carry. Usually it's a 2-in-1 device, 15 to 17 inch screen with about 8 to 16 gig of storage. We carry those in stock, a limited supply just for students that come in and say, I need a laptop. Do you have anything in stock? Those generally range anywhere between $600 and $900 retail price to the students. Now, I will tell you, electronic devices have gone through the roof here recently in terms of pricing. But the one thing that we do is if you're looking for an electronic device and you're out in the market shopping, send us an email to shackerstore@wichita.edu. What we will do is, based upon the specs that you're looking for, you tell us what you want. I want an engineering, I'm an engineering student. I'm looking for what the engineering department recommends. We will send you 3 models that we recommend to you and their pricing. If it's outside of that, say you're just looking for a laptop, I'm looking for this. I want an i7 17-inch with a 10 key that has an ultra high def graphics card in it so my kid can watch Netflix when they're not studying. Let us know those specs. What we do is we go out to bid to Dell and get an educational quote. We send it to you. If you say, yep, this is what I want, then we order it and we drop ship it either to you at your location, wherever you live right now, or we have it drop shipped here to our store and your child can pick it up when they come to campus.
And last question I see from Miss Kelly Stewart is, can students use their Shocker dollars for some of those snacks and goodies at the bookstore?
Unfortunately, Kelly, we cannot. We are not integrated in with the campus dining system, but we do offer sandwiches, microwavable foods, fresh salads, those types of things. We offer the cool like parfaits, and then also the healthy hummus and those types of things for students as well. One of the things that's really cool is we also showcase 2 local popular places here in Wichita for snacks, one being the Popcorner, which is a gourmet popcorn place here in town. We offer a variety of different flavors and different sizes of options for students, but also Coco Dolce, which is our chocolatier in town. So we have chocolates of different sizes and different types here in our store.
Perfect. Any other advice or questions that are out there? Kind of going through the comments, trying to see if I forgot or missed anybody. There is a ton, again, you know, I share this at orientation. There's really a ton of information that's out there. And so if you feel like, whoa, this is a little overwhelming, a lot of information, don't worry. We will send it to you in the parent newsletter so long as you're signed up for that. You can go to wichita.edu/OneShockerFamily and sign up for our newsletter. And we will send this information to you throughout the summer. And just remind you, hey, it's time, you know, go ahead and, you know, go online and look for books. I even tell parents, you know, go online and just get an estimate of what potentially your books could cost, because even sometimes that's a sticker shocker in itself. And it's nice to see, wow, if my student gets, you know, what is it called, Andy? The online textbook version.
Access Now.
Access Now, thank you. Access Now version versus, you know, the textbook version, how much they could save. Andy has been just a phenomenal leader on our campus and really advocating for affordable textbooks for our students, going out and meeting with vendors and meeting with faculty, and really trying to help us move towards that, because you know, the cost of higher ed is not getting any cheaper. And so doing our due diligence and making sure that we're doing our best to have the fairest prices for our students available so that they can continue to learn and have access to that information. So I just want to thank Andy for her leadership and guidance in getting that, because it's been a long time coming, and I think we're there now. And it's exciting just to kind of see all of the options that our students have now for learning and text options. And so thanks, Andy. I'll bring Gina back on with Andy just to see if they have any last minute advice to share or anything as we get ready to end today's session.
I think that I would just encourage parents to take some time to read through some of the information that we've mentioned on the websites, and remind folks that we've got these kind of shortcut email or URLs. So it's wichita.edu/FERPA/proxy/ One Stop, Shocker Store. So if anytime you're looking for something, you can usually search for it on the One Stop site, or try that / one word tuition, things like that. You can often find information on our website that way. And if you find that there's something that's not helpful or could be more clear, I would say certainly for the registrar's office, anything on our website that could be more helpful. If you're so inclined, let me know so that we can continue to make our resources more useful for students and parents.
Just two quick things that I did not talk about. If you are a transfer student or you have a transfer student coming to our institution from another location, one thing to tell you, other than Access Now, we do not charge textbooks, electronics, and school supplies back against student accounts. Financial aid, excess financial aid, and those types of things are dispersed to the student prior to the start of classes if they have an excess in aid. So any type of material that your child will need to purchase in our store will need to be paid out of pocket unless they have what's called a third-party payer, which is generally like your VA or your workforce that covers textbooks for them. I apologize that I forgot to mention that during our session previously. But the next thing, if you have children that are looking for a fun place to work, we do offer employment opportunities. And then as a parent, the biggest thing is left foot, right foot, breathe, and watch your child soar, because this is a perfect opportunity for allowing you to take a step back and watching them take the step forward and watch them grow in this process. But if you have questions or concerns about anything related to course materials, employment, education, or educational electronics, or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. My email's all over the webpage, as well as Shocker Store at wichita.edu. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Perfect. And again, like they said, there's a lot of information out there. And so don't hesitate to connect with us. Also, I want to encourage you to connect with each other. We have a phenomenal group, which is our Shocker Family Network, which is a Facebook group just for parents to talk to other parents about their experience, questions, comments, concerns. And it's really great because you get that inside tip of how other parents address situations or questions, and you don't have to wait for one of us to get back to you. And so it's nice just to go there and talk with each other, and also just kind of build that community. Before we end tonight's discussion, I do have a winner for our drawing. It is Brett Pickett. I believe that is the name. Is there a Brett? Maybe not. Brett is the winner of our Shocker Dad license plate. Yay! And so we'll get that sent out to you in the mail, Brett. We have a couple other sessions that are scheduled for this month and then also next month. There we go. Who will, if you join us online, you can sign up for those. We'll send you a reminder. For every single session we have various giveaways, anything from Shocker tote bags to just fun Shocker Proud parent paraphernalia, just to get out there and say you're proud to be a part of Shocker Nation. And so thank you for joining us this evening. As always, if you have questions, we're on standby. Don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later.